Thank you. Thank you so much for joining and being part of this webinar. This is going to be a very exciting thing for you to think about for you and your money and what that means for a holistic life. I know right now it might feel scary thinking about what money can do and what money can't do. And what we're going to learn today is a way for you to get a very simplified approach to how you can manage money, how you can grow your wealth, and how you can do it on your terms. It is no get rich quick scheme, not at all. It is something that you can easily implement and easily do. So what we're going to talk about today is all about you building holistic life, building holistic money management skills so you can reach the financial independence that you're looking for. This is going to be 25 to 30 minutes of your time. What will help if you are in a quiet area, you are 100% focused on yourself right now, you are in an abundant mindset, meaning you feel good, you feel like you've got energy and you are ready to learn. I am just a teacher. I am excited to teach you the things that I know. This isn't financial advice, because I don't know your specific scenario. What this is education, financial education. Then with this, you will have tools to be able to start implementing into your life tomorrow, actually right now after this, that you can start seeing results. You can start seeing results in how you show up. You can start seeing results in so many different things. So if you're ready, let's do it. Why don't you just make a little bit of move that energy in your body and say, you know what, Simone, I am ready. I am ready. I'm ready. I'm ready. So as you're getting ready, I want you to just do a little dance, and I'm going to share my screen. And why? Because we are going to be talking about something that's very, very important, and that is building holistic money management into your life. So this is all about you. This is about your life. This is about what you want. And so I want you to remember that this is the time to prioritize you. We're going to be thinking about your life. And to do that, let's just start with a little bit of exercise. So yesterday, you were very, very lucky. You actually found a $1,000 last week. Right. Happened to be yesterday, but it actually was last week. So $1,000 you found last week. And with that $1,000, you had a choice. And I want you to think about what you did with that money. I want you to think about it, write it down. What did you do with that money? All right. All right. So when we think about it, you have three choices to do anything with your money. And those choices are, you can either save money, you can spend money, or you can invest money. Very, very simple. Those are the three choices that we have. So saving, we put it away. We either put it under our mattress. If our grandparents were hanging out with us, that's what they probably would have told us. We can spend it. We knew that we had to pay some bills, or we knew that we wanted to buy something for ourselves and treat ourselves, or we invest it. We put that money into something that will get us a return. So I'm curious what you did with that money. There's nothing wrong with any of your choices, but those choices are going to impact how you actually will see that money in the future. Because if you save that money, if you save it in a bank account, that money in 10 years is going to be very different than if you spent that money last week, and very different in how you invested that money last week. So what we're going to cover today is a little bit about how you can make choices with your money, what you can do that's holistically aligned with where you want to go in life, that also is based upon personal finance principles. So let's do that. If you're ready, let's do that. Say, yeah, I'm ready. All right. So my name is Simone Cimiluca Radzins. You can call me Simone CR. I am a CPA. I'm a certified professional accountant, and I'm the founder of Wealthy Mom Finance. My goal is to help shatter the money ceiling for everybody. But as a woman, as a mom, I realize that there's a lot of uphill battles that women face along the lines of wealth and our wealth gap and our wealth management. And so that has been a big priority. And my whole goal is to give you financial tools that you can start implementing today and tomorrow, so you can really build a bright future for yourself. And if you have families, for your families. You know, I know that you're here, that you are committed to growing yourself, to growing your wealth, and to doing things a new way. Because I believe that what you were told, or what you even weren't told, Is it benefiting you? And there could be a new and a better way of doing it that feels aligned with what you are all about and building wealth. So let's do this. Let's get started. So how many of you have heard the saying that the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, and the best time to plant a tree now is today? That's how it is with our wealth and our financial management. You know, what you did yesterday, what you did 5 years ago, what you did 10 years ago, that's great. We're going to build upon that. So if you were building amazing financial foundations, we're going to build upon that. If you were kind of struggling, we're going to build upon that, and we're going to build only going up. So I want you to realize that what happened yesterday, but what is happening today is definitely something different. And what is happening tomorrow is on your terms, and we're building wealth on your terms. So this is a no fear, no judgment, and no shame zone. What I want us to be thinking about right now is building wealth, building abundance, thinking about doing things differently because you have goals, you have a mission, you are ready to do whatever you were designed and put on this planet to do. And we are going to use money as a resource and a tool to help you do that. All right. Because when we boil it down, we are in absolute control of what we're about, and we are going to design our life. We're going to design our wealth. So with that, I want you to take a step back for a moment. Okay, take a step back. Take a deep breath in and close your eyes just for a moment. Okay, just do this with me. Close your eyes for a moment. And I want you to envision your life in 30 years. I want you to think about financial abundance and you living your best life. I want you to be able to think about who you're with. What are you doing? Where do you live? What's your routine like? And I want you to really think about a special day in 30 years where you are just waking up filled with joy, walking out of your house, stepping into nature, and saying, wow, I have achieved all of this. I have achieved this abundance. I have achieved this wealth. I am happy. I'm wealthy. I'm fulfilled. I want you to take a deep breath in. And I want you to take a deep breath out. And then I want you to take a deep breath in. And I want you to take a deep breath out. And I want you to take a deep breath in, and I want you to breathe in abundance. And I want you to take a deep breath out. I want you to release any of the fear that you've ever had. I want you to say release. Breath in, abundance. Breath out, release the fear. One more, abundance. One more out. Fear. I want you to come back in, come back into your body, come back in with me. And I want you to really think about that life. That is the life that we are building. That is the life that you are working for. That is how you are going to get there, is figuring out that why, that deep why of what that life that you want, that life that you are going to have, that life that you are building right now. That is why we are building wealth on your terms. That life is going to be different for you. It's going to be different for me. But what we're going to do is we're going to build that plan together. And it all starts by thinking about that life, what we want, and that life right now today, and building that plan to get there. And it first starts with you thinking about what your core values are. Now, we have developed values all throughout our life. Some of them we've just inherited from our parents or the society that we've grown up in or been built in. And we've also developed them along the way through the friends that we've had, the relationships that we've had, the desires and the adventures that we've gone through. So what I want you to do right now is, along that piece of paper that you have, I want you to think about, what are the core values that you have right now? If you had to just think about, if it's being a person of achievement, if it's family, it's well-being, if it's education, if it's learning, adventure, what are those core values for you? So if you need to, pause this video and make sure that you can get 3 core values, and then we'll continue. And the reason why core values are so important is because core values help us build back to that why of where we wanted to be financially in 30 years, but they also help us determine what we are going to do today, what we are going to focus on today in terms of the work that we're going to do, the income that we want to build, and how we're actually going to choose to spend our money. Now, this is called value-based spending. When we talk about money management, we'll talk a little bit more about value-based spending, but it's very important to get those core values. Those core values are going to help guide you throughout life. It's a very interesting, important exercise to do. So I'll give you some more tools after this where you can really dive into your core values. And the reason why we think about our why, the reason why we think about core values is because actually money management is very simple. Money management is relatively easy. It's not hard. But where it gets tripped up is that 99% of our money problems are emotional. Yes, 99% of our money problems are emotional. So what does that mean? It means that you might have and know how to do budgeting. You might know that you want to start investing. You might know even what you want to invest in. You might know that you want to negotiate. But what happens is that for us to develop habits and to change things, we have to know how to, what to, and why to. The why to is that oftentimes this like caught up between our subconscious and our conscious of some issues, right? And so money habits, a lot of those are emotional, and emotions are tied to a lot related to our childhood. So we have to remember that one of the things that we want to master with money is actually the emotions out of money, and getting our emotions tied out of money, and realizing that money is just a resource to allow us to do the things that we want to do. That's it. We want to change the language that we have around money. So this all starts with thinking about what is your money mindset. And the reason that's important is because our money mindset, so let's just take a step back. So if we know that our core beliefs are developed by our family, by the society that we grew up in, by the community that we were raised in, we can associate that with our mindset, because our mindset really fuels our beliefs. Our beliefs fuel our thoughts fuel our actions, and our actions fuel our destiny, right? And so when we think about it that way, our money habits and our money mindset is developed by the time that we are age 7. And even by the time that we're age 3, we actually have a core understanding of money. So that means there's a lot that happens, a lot that you are doing right now. If you are my age, or if you're a little bit younger or a little bit older, what we're doing right now still relates to ourself when we're less than 7. Right? We don't even have our prefrontal cortex, that area of our brain that allows us to really, really think about things logically, develop. So what we're doing is we're operating in a system where we are still holding whatever that was from our childhood as our mind, oftentimes is our mindset about money. So the first thing I want you to think about is, what is your mindset about money? Just think about that really quick. You can write that down on that piece of paper. My mindset about money, I believe money is, and finish that sentence. I believe money is, finish that sentence. Is it a source of evil? Is it something that's hard to attain? Is it something that you've lost? Is it something that you believe you aren't worthy for? Right? When we unpacked our emotions around money and our feelings around money and our core beliefs around money, a lot of it tends to be negative or limiting. And you're not alone. Like, this is, again, a very societal impact, a gender impact, something that we want, and that we're going to be doing right now, if we can kind of feel our energy, that we are going to be changing. Okay, so when you think about your mindset about money, what we want to have is an abundant mindset. We want to have a win-win mindset. We want to know that money is this resource that we are going to be using, and it is only going to help us get to X. That's it. That is it. It's clear and simple. There's nothing that money is tied to your worth. Money is tied to the person that you are. It isn't. Money literally is a resource, and our mindset, just like in entrepreneurship, our mindset is a major, major player to our success about money. It shows up how we negotiate. It shows up how we make decisions. It shows up how we negotiate and make decisions. Those are the big two, right? It shows up in how we deal with money on the day to day. So what I want you to think about right now is, if you could rate yourself, your money mindset on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being, girl, I could be teaching this workshop, or 0, hey, you know what? I don't even know. This is blowing my mind, but I think that my mindset is not helping me. I need you to rate that. Put it on your piece of paper, just rate that. All right, so the goal is we start with mindset. Mindset is everything. Before we can even jump to the next level, we got to master our mindset. Mindset builds our habits. Our habits are really interesting because they kind of form in clusters. So if we set a good set of habits, all of a sudden, boop, 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 we get more and more good habits. That's great. But similarly, if we start going on a road of negative habits, then we can start developing more and more negative habits. And there's nothing that's good or bad. It's just that if it's helping you get to where you want to be, or if it's not helping you get to where you want to be, right? So old habits and new habits. I want to think about, for you, what are the habits that you have around money? Now, some of the habits that we can think about are actively looking at your bank statements, your investment accounts, proactively thinking about money, setting budgets, paying bills on time, setting boundaries with money, checking in with money, having a date with yourself with money. Those are some of the, good habits, beneficial habits that you can have with money. But habits are very interesting because they take a long time often to form, and they're very hidden often, that we don't even realize that we're forming a habit. So all of a sudden we're like, oh my gosh, think about, I like to equate money management with your health. Health and wealth, they go hand in hand in so many different areas. But I like to equate money management with your health. So if we think about, if we're going eating donuts all day, not doing our 10,000 steps, not taking care of our gut health, because that's actually a big component of our health, much more than calories in than calories out, then after a while, our body's not going to be working as well. We're going to feel it in our digestion. We're going to feel it in our sleep. We're going to feel it in our clothes. Like, all of that is just is a result based upon our habits. Now, that's going to be similar with our money. So if we are going to be not looking at our bank statement, turning like a blind eye when it comes to our money, getting a paycheck, or getting a customer to pay us and then just spending that money without a plan, those habits are going to give us an effect that is going to be positive or negative depending on those habits. And so what I want you to think about, and that often is based upon our mindset. If we have a strong, abundant mindset, that is a win-win when it comes to money, and we are going to build habits upon that, that means that we are going to be able to set boundaries really well. We are going to be able to have a plan for our money. We're going to feel confident when it comes to making decisions. We're not going to feel stressed when we have to pay bills, right? Those habits, those beliefs, that mindset, those beliefs then form those habits, right? So that they're stacking upon each other. Next, we've got systems. Systems are the way that we actually use those habits in a systematic way. And so when we think about systems, this is how you are putting the things in place, right? So it's how you can automate certain areas of your income. It's how you can leverage banking, leverage technology, how you have even a system, if you're using cash only, like the envelope system, that you can have a system that is really working for you. So you can almost put these things on autopilot. So the habits are so routine in your life that they have become a system. Now, how's that look? That looks like, if you are an employee and you are receiving a paycheck, that you have done the math and you know that you are going to allocate, 25% of your paycheck every month to putting that into an investment account, to putting that into your wealth building, whatever that wealth building strategy is. You just know that. So you've actually automated it because you feel confident that the other amount of your take-home pay is going to be able to cover your necessary expenses and your fun-filling activities. Like that is a system. Another system is that in your banking, you can do, and there's some amazing bank applications that in your banking, you can do a fantastic thing, which is you can hide money into vaults. And that's going to help you reach your vacation fund goal. That's going to help you reach your clothing budget for the year, right? And so there are just certain ways and certain things that you can do, systems that you can build that aren't hard at all, that can really help you. So when you think about the softer things about money, it's all about mindset. It builds on your habits, and then systems are really what takes it to the next level. So you want to think about mastering these. So on that notebook that I had, that on that piece of paper that you have, I want you just to rate mindset, habits, systems. Rate them 0 to 10. 0, like, okay, got to start this. 10, I'm mastered. Okay, so I just want you to rate that. So that's the softer thing. So this is important. And when we think about financial foundations, when we think of your personal foundations, these are going to be the true personal foundations and financial foundations that are really going to help you through your money management and through your wealth building. Because y'all, we are in it for the long-term win-win and abundant mindset. That's it. Because health and wealth are so parallel. And it's interesting because you could have as much wealth as you want, but if you're not healthy, what's the point of it? Right? And if you're super healthy and you don't have a lot of wealth and you're not, and you're stressed, like what's the point of that? And very interesting because a lot of our stress does come from our finances. So what we want to do is we really want to think about things holistically. But what I also want you to realize is that sometimes what gets us so stressed out is we think about, oh my God, I have to do this all today. Wealth building and money management, we're doing these mindset things, these habits, these systems. This is a long-term play, y'all. That very beginning of the exercise, what we started thinking about our life in 30 years. So what we can think about is we've got a long run. We've got a long run ahead of us. And how many of you have run a marathon? Any of you? I have run 2. Not sure if I'll run a 3rd one, but I love the trio, so maybe that'll happen. But the thing with marathons is that you don't sprint at the mile 1. You don't sprint at the mile 5. You really don't sprint unless you're really racing for the mile 25. You are in this for a long run. It's all about endurance. And what happens with endurance is that we make smart decisions all along the way. We're always checking in with ourselves. We're always making sure that we have got our best self at mind and that we are doing things holistically. So what I want you to think about is this reframe, that these actions that you get to do today, that you get to do tomorrow, they're just building upon each other. There is no right, there's no wrong, but these actions are going to compound to bigger actions, to seeing different things into your life that are much bigger than a small, like, oh, I just decided not to spend that today, to, wow, I've looked at my bank balance, I've looked at my investment accounts, and to, these are very promising. So it's all about a reframe right now. So I want you to be able to check yourself, like, is this a yay? Are you a yes, I'm in this? Or are you feeling like, oh, I don't know about that? Because if you're feeling like, I don't know about that, then I want you to write, what is holding you back on that piece of paper? Stick with me though, because I think you're a yay. So what is personal finance? So when I think about personal finance, it's quite easy. It doesn't need to be hard. It's quite easy. So I want you to write down these 3 pillars: build, manage, grow. And as you can see, this is like a stepping stone. Build is first, manage is next, and grow is last, but they're all continuous, right? So they all feed off of each other. So build is build your income. Throughout your life, you have so many opportunities to build income, negotiate better, have multiple sources of income, right? And that is going to be the driver of your wealth. It's going to be the driver. It's not going to be the success of your wealth. It isn't, because manage comes next. Manage is all about managing your money holistically. It's giving that build, which is that driver of your cash flow, of that income. And it's saying, hey, you know what? All of these inflows, this money is coming in. I'm going to have a plan to manage that money. Now, if we manage it well, we will have a surplus and we will be able to invest and we will be able to grow it. When we grow our money, we can use the laws of investing and compound interest and thinking about it in the long run to be able to build wealth for you tomorrow. I'm going to go over all of these in detail, but the big thing I want you to take away is that there's 3 pillars here. You want to be able to master all 3 of these pillars, and they're all unique, but they all go very well together. The biggest driver, though, is build. So one of the things I want you to think about is how much is flowing your way. When you can build your income, it's all about flow. Right? It's all about the money that you're going to be receiving. And this is throughout your entire life, but I want you to think about it. Actually, I want you to hone in. I want you to think about it right now. Right? So if you are a W-2 employee, I want you to think about, okay, well, that is the money that you're getting. So you know exactly how much you're getting every month. You can predict how much you might be getting next year. If you are self-employed, if you're a business owner and you're operating your business for a few years, you know more or less how much you're going to be getting every year. So you can already say and predict, this is how much money I'm going to be getting. Now, what's interesting about that is now you have a baseline, but what you want to do is you're always focusing on how can you build your income, right? So when you think about it, what happened this last year? Inflation happened. In Europe, it was about 10%. In America, around the same. So when we think about inflation impacts us how? It impacts us because the money that we are making isn't as valuable anymore. If our salmon is going up 10, 15%, but our income is not going up 10 to 15%, it means that it's harder for us to buy that salmon. It means that the money that we decide to use to buy those groceries, the salmon, the housing, all that stuff, it's a little bit different. So it's really important for us to always have a baseline of, okay, how do we build income? Well, how do we build it? We build it through negotiating. Negotiating is the biggest thing. So that's making sure that if you're W-2, that you continue to negotiate, that you negotiate every year, and that you have a very smart way of negotiating, that you've practiced it, and that you aren't afraid. Why? Afraid, fear. What does that mean? That goes back to mindset. Mindset's a big driver of our success. So what we want to think about is negotiation as a way to build wealth. Another way to build income. Another way to build income is taking up another income stream. So the average millionaire has 7 income streams, 7. So if you are just employed right now, what could you be doing? So we know that we could be negotiating, we could be asking for a raise, but there are other ways to build, right? So we could be building through a side hustle. We could be building through freelancing. We could be building an income stream like royalties. So there's a lot of different ways that you can build. Now, if you are self-employed and you're like, my God, I'm already focused on my business. My challenge to you is that you can build income in different ways in your business that will allow you to build like this multiple income streams. Okay. So there's definitely opportunity here. Now, the success that you will get is that every year and every quarter and maybe even every month is you evaluating. So when I think about build, write this down, price times quantity. It's the easiest thing you can ever think about, right? Price times quantity. If you were an hourly based employee, okay, you are making $50 an hour, you are working 20 hours a week. Okay, somebody that it has a calculator, do the math right there. That's what, 1,000? That's $1,000 that you will be having a week before taxes, right? So you know that you can easily predict those things. But what are those levers that you can change? The levers that you can change are the price or the quantity. Now, one thing that's very important as you think about build and also as you think about grow is your time. Time is something that you are never going to get back. It is one of the most valuable assets that you will ever have in your life. It's something as you get older, you're going to find it more and more valuable. So you want to figure out how you can leverage your time as you are building income. There's nothing wealthy to me about hustling 80 hours a week and making $10,000 a month. There's nothing brilliant about that to me because you are sacrificing so much. So when you think about build and you think about wealth, I really want you to think about how that is going to be with leveraging time. So this is our build component. This build is going to drive how we manage money and how we do things. So question here is, I want you to rate that 0 to 10. How do you feel about build? We're in a manage, right? This is where it's so fun for me. And this is where, why we were actually even talking today. And so manage is all about, how do you manage your money? How do you manage that? So we got our money, we're building in a great way. But what's very interesting is you see so many millionaires go broke, go bankrupt. Why? Because they weren't managing their money right? So what we're going to be talking about is a different holistic way of managing money. Now, before we get started, I want to know how many of you have actually done a budget? Okay. How many of you have actually done a budget? Now, doing a budget's one thing. Implementing the budget is another thing. And that's where I think that it gets quite hard is that, okay, so I do my budget and then I implement it, and how long can I actually stick with it? And oh shit, it's been 6 months and I haven't actually done anything, and I haven't even looked at my budget and I don't even know what it is. How many can relate? Because I can. Right? So where I think it gets very difficult is, remember, it all is with mindset. How much do you want to do it? Why are you doing it? How do you feel about it? Does it feel good? An abundant mindset also, does abundant mindset and budgeting, do those actually work well? And I believe they actually don't. That's why I like to think about it as holistic money management. And so holistic money management is all about giving you some guardrails of how you're going to spend your money. So this is based on averages, right? So this might not be exact for you and your own income or your household income. And so this is why this is education. I want you to look at this with a grain of salt. This is based upon the average income in the United States for a single person, and then the average expenses that the average single person is incurring in America, right? So it's going to be different in Europe. That's going to be different for households. But why I like it as a CPA is that this is an allocation. These are percentages. So we can play with them, and you can just use this, and I'll teach you how. And you've got actually a free download if you finish this with me. And I'll teach you how to do it. So there's 3 buckets that I want you to think about. They are your necessities, they are your wealth building, and they are your fun filling. Necessities is 55% of your take-home pay. So that is after you've actually paid your taxes. All right, so that's every month. I want you to think about, or every pay period, 55% of that money is going to go to paying your necessities. 25% of that money is going to go to building your wealth, and 20% is going to go to fun filling. So what are all these, you might wonder? So necessary expenses are actually what it is to live. All right. So what it is to live. So it's your housing payment, your rent, your mortgage, your property taxes if you own a home, your utilities, your groceries, and asterisk the groceries, because this is where we're going to talk a little bit. Your groceries, your minimum clothing budget that you need, your childcare if you have kids, your pets, if you have pets, your medical bills, your insurance, your transportation costs, all of those are necessary expenses. Like, you have to have food, you have to feel secure, you have to have a roof over your head. If you're working, you got to get somewhere, right? Those are the necessary expenses here. Now, I said, let's asterisk food for a second, because this is, my darlings, where a lot of us get our necessities and our fun feeling a little confused. Now, I almost breaking out the tea to have this conversation, because this is a harder conversation to have with yourself. Your food budget is the necessary food that you need. I'm not saying you eat beans and rice, because I care so much about eating healthy. I care about making sure that I have kale, that I have avocados, that I have good protein. I make sure that I have that. But there's a through line though, when cookies, are those really necessary? Sodas, are those really necessary? Coconut water, and I am a fan and a culprit of that. Are those really necessary? No, they're not. They're not necessary. Going out to eat definitely is not necessary. That goes into the fun-filling budget. And so it's very important that as you start thinking, and I'll give you homework, we're not going to cover this right now, but as you start thinking about your necessary expenses, that you're really objective and you can use that scientific brain to really look at it. Because necessary expenses are the whole foods that you definitely need to have in your life to be good and fed and make sure that you're healthy. But the processed stuff, that soda, the coconut water, all of that actually isn't necessary. Those are fun. Those are fun filling. And so let's talk about fun filling next. Fun filling makes life worth living. It is giving gifts. It is going on vacation. It is going out to eat, is going for coffee. It is whatever you like to do in your life. It's fun filling. It is great for you. And so 20% of your take home pay goes to fun filling activities and 25% goes to wealth building. So wealth building is, well, if you have high interest rate, credit cards, all that kind of stuff, you pay that off. But you make sure that you have got your emergency savings fund. You are investing in your wealth. You're looking at opportunities for investing in real estate or in paper, like the stock market or ETFs. And we'll talk about this in the wealth building section, but that you really have a plan for wealth building. And the reason why these allocations are here is that this is focused on you living much more of a life that is aligned with your core values. So this is when you're going to go back to those core values and start really assessing your necessary and your fun filling. But it is designed to help you get to peaceful retirement, right? So it's really being able to make those lifestyle changes that will really help you get to peaceful retirement. And for me, peaceful retirement isn't going to be 65 retiring. It's going to be a little bit early where I don't struggle. And this is the formula that I use to get there. So I want to show you how this could actually look. All right, so let's just take a net take-home pay of $3,500. Now, net take-home pay, let's talk about that really quick. Net take-home pay is after taxes. So after you've paid taxes, this is what you're getting every month. This is going to be very different for whoever's watching this, but this is going to be some simple math. So of that $3,500, I am going to allocate 55% of that to necessary expenses. So that's $1,925 goes to covering my necessary expenses: food, rent, transport, meaning gas, car payment, all that kind of stuff. 25% of that is going to go to wealth building, $875 every month, wealth building. And 20% of that is going to go to fun filling, $700. All right. Seems pretty simple, right? I'm going to hone in now and we're going to talk about what that looks like for wealth building, because that's why I think we're all here. So this is where, when we think about wealth building, there's a few things I'm going to talk about it, but write down SIGAR. Not a huge fan of smoking, but love the acronym. So write down SIGAR. So SIGAR is all about compound interest and the compound effect. So this, if you're table shy, go back and read the bullet points. And if you like numbers, okay, work with me. So that first column is looking at a growth rate or an interest rate, and that's 0%, 3%, and 8%. And this is looking at you investing every month $875. So in year one, you would have $10,500 without any growth rate, like any interest compounded or anything, but you would be able to save $10,500. Okay. So if you just allocate that amount. But where the magic happens with wealth building is that when you can actually allocate that amount every month, and you can find an investment vehicle and an investment strategy that would give you 3% or 8% every year, by the time, and let's hone in, let's look at the mouse together, in 10 years with 0%, you'd be able to save $105,000. At 3%, you would be able to save $120,370. And listen to me, it's not save. You would actually be able to you'd be able to grow your money to $120,370. And at 8%, you would be able to grow your money to $152,109. That is assuming that every month you continue to invest $875. Now, where this mathematical equation falls very short is that we know that you're doing one thing, because we talked about this already. You are building. your income. So we know that if you actually follow the wealth building strategy and you continue to invest 25% of your take home pay every month, but we know that you are continuing to build your income, well, we know that year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, you'd actually be investing more and more and more. So that balance is going to be bigger. So as you can see, this simple equation doesn't even include that, but what it does include is here. So 152,109 at 8% versus 105,000 at 0%. So you would have 47,000 more if you could find an investment strategy that would give you 8%. And that actually isn't hard. So I am from America. And if you just invested your money into paper, and I'll talk about different investments in a second, paper, stock market, that actual annual return annualized is about 10%, right? So there's different ways to find different investment vehicles. That's not what we're talking about here. We're just talking about the system to get you there. But look at this. This is incredible. This is really something that is very easy to do off of a $3,500 net home pay. Where it comes into play, that is a little bit more difficult, is your mindset, are the habits, are the systems. It's like, oh, you got to get it. But it's more down in the gut, right? You got to get it because that is where it's that why factor. All right. So cigar. Let's talk about cigar for a second. So cigar is the compound effect. It's your investment horizon, it's your financial goals, it's your allocation, and it's your risk tolerance. So the compound effect is exactly what I showed you. It's you investing a certain amount over time, continuing to invest, and you let compound interest work for you. So basically your interest is getting interest, or your growth is getting growth. So if you invest money and you don't take it out, that money grows. And then every year or whatever that compound period is, it continues to grow. So let's assume an 8%. So you put in money, you put in $100, it grows at 8%. Okay, that's amazing. Let's say it grows at 10%. So that's 110. But then you use that 110 and that grows at another 10%, and so on and so forth. So basically your money continues to grow for you. How that works, you have to continue to put that money in. You don't take that money out. Your investment horizon is very important. Your investment horizon is all about how long it's going to work for you. That long run, what is that long run? That investment horizon is very different for me and my father. My father is about to retire. We've been having conversations about him retiring. So his investment horizon is like a year. My investment horizon is about 30 years. So the investment horizon is going to dictate your strategy, your risks, your allocations, and the strategy that you are really going to use to build your wealth and your financial goals. Your financial goals. This is where you really are going to be this is where you are building your wealth. You are dictating your wealth. It's wealth on your terms. So your financial goals, we've got short-term financial goals. I talked about those and we'll talk about them in the next slide. And we've got long-term financial goals. Long-term financial goals, it's pretty simple. You being able to peacefully retire. Pretty freaking simple. The strategy that you're going to use is using your investment horizon, your allocations of where you're going to actually allocate your wealth building into the different types of assets that can generate wealth for you. And then it's going to be your risk tolerance. If you're really risk averse, if you are afraid of risk, you are going to be probably choosing certain investment strategies that are going to make sure that you don't lose that risk. But then there's a percentage, right? So the more risk tolerant that you are with risk, the more that you actually could receive, right? So if you are, crypto, for example, is a perfect example. People that were very risk tolerant put a lot of money in crypto at the very beginning. They made a lot of money, but they also lost a lot of money if they have taken their money out because it went down. So it's very interesting to think about all of these things, all these components: cigar, compound, your investment horizon, your financial goals, the allocation, and the allocation means of the different types of assets. And I'll show you this in the next slide, that you would put your money in and the average rate of return that those assets would have, and your risk tolerance. Every asset is a very different risk tolerance, right? or a different risk. And that risk would be associated with the return. Okay, so let's look at it. So when we think about a simple way of looking at and building wealth, let's look at it right here. Super easy. So I want you to focus right now at the must-haves. Must-haves, 0 high interest rate debt. Just as the compound interest works for us, it will work against us with credit cards. Do not spend money that you do not have on credit cards. It is going to hurt you so hard. You will be in a hole that you have to get out of, right? So the first thing that you want to think about is really avoiding you want 0 high interest rate credit cards, okay? Or debt, period, right? Because that could be medical debt, that could be a lot of different debt depending on where you are. So that's like the first rule of thumb, like get a plan for that, get out of that quick, because what's happening is that interest rate is so high, like it's 17%, 18%, 20%, depending on your credit history, depending on a lot of different factors. And so imagine if we could remember that when we looked at that slide about, growth at 8% and how that looked after 10 years. Well, the thing about credit cards is that is compounded monthly. And so your balance will continue to grow. So your whole goal is to make sure that you are out of high interest rate debt as fast as you possibly can be. Now, not all debt is bad. In fact, if you buy a home, you'll have a mortgage. And if you even take out, if you have a business, you might decide to get a line of credit, right? Make sure you have a plan for that debt, that you are working with a professional that understands that, you're assessing the interest rates on that debt, but make sure that, you also understand that not all debt is bad. You want to assess the different interest rates related to that debt. And you also want to assess the compound effect of that debt and how that looks into your cash flow, right? So those are, the must-have is like 0 high interest rate debt. If you have debt, it has a plan. Usually it's offset by an asset, and that you have an emergency savings fund of 6 months, period. A lot of stress goes into if you're self-employed, or even if you're employed, getting laid off, changes in whatever life circumstances there are. So minimum is to make sure you have an emergency savings fund of 6 months minimum. Okay. So that's like here. Those are the must-haves. Now, there are strategies about debt and wealth building. Okay. That is going to be particular on your debt, if you have debt, and when you can allocate money towards your wealth, right? But I would say you want to balance it and make sure that your cash flow actually works with it. So this is something where it's like, this is education, not advice. You really have to figure out for you what works. But here you see 3 different categories. These are the important categories that I want you to remember. Stone. I'm in Stone right now. I'm in a stone home, and that's why it's so cold. No, but stone is real estate. It's tangible real estate. And so real estate is an opportunity to invest. So you can invest in stone. That could be your primary residence. That could be investing in a secondary residence or becoming a real estate investor. Those are strategies to build wealth. Paper is really 2 categories. So paper is your traditional investments like the stock market or bonds or certificates of deposit or mutual funds or ETFs. Like those are paper, digital, right? But that can also be in the bucket of alternative investments. Alternative investments are very interesting. They're a little bit riskier, but that's like crypto or that's foreign exchange. Those are different types of paper assets that you can have. And another asset, because I know I've got entrepreneurs in the house, is your business. Your business is an incredible asset that you're building. But with that lens, you have to realize that you are building a business. You're not building a freelance agents. Well, it could be a freelance agency, but you're not building just being self-employed. And so really coming in with that business owner hat of you're building a business is really important, because that is an asset that you're growing. Now, each of those assets will give you dividends. Each of those assets could give you, well, not each, but like a business could give you royalty, it could give you income, it can give you dividends. Paper assets could give you dividends, returns, and then stone assets could give you passive income, right? So there's a lot of opportunity, and later on you could sell it and it could be appreciating. So there's a lot of opportunities for you to build wealth, a ton. But the first way that you have to do is get enough money every month to get there, right? So that's where the holistic money management really comes into play. So what's next? What is next? So I want you just to like sit back and think about this. Like we talked a lot. I talked a lot. You listened and you jotted down notes, but I appreciate you so much because I'm doing this for you. I'm doing this for us to build wealth together. Okay. So I want you to think about like, wow, you learned a lot, hopefully. What is it that really strikes you the most right now? What is it that you've actually heard from this presentation, from this workshop that you're like, okay, yes, I want to do something about this. I want to make a change. I'm ready to do this. Boom, let's do it. What is next? You write that down, write it down. Okay. I want you to take that, hold that, and there's not going to be a pitch. Don't worry. There's not going to be a pitch. Maybe there should be, but now we're building the plan. Okay. So that what now of what you think is what now, I want you to couple that with that why that we said at the very beginning, that little heart, but actually that was like somebody floating in like Bora Bora. Okay. That why, those habits, that mindset, all of this now is coming into fruition. That's coming into play. But what we have to do is we actually have to build a plan. And so from this entire thing, this entire workshop that we've done, I want you to analyze and I want you to assess. I want you to analyze and I want you to assess two things: your mindset, your habits, and your systems. You don't have to do that right now. This is your homework. And I want you to assess your numbers. Your numbers are, really where it's at. And so the numbers, I have a whole worksheet for you. Yeah, the QR code is on the next slide, but a whole worksheet for you to help you assess that. So your numbers is going to be looking at your net pay and putting it through the holistic budget method. And then it's going to be looking at your month-on-month expenses and going backwards and looking at that for the last 6 months and like looking at trends and making sure what is happening so you can really understand what is going on. And then it's looking at your net worth, and your net worth is the high level. It's very easy, but it's like your assets minus your liabilities for your own personal self, right? And so your assets are like your bank balance, your retirement accounts. If you have real estate, and then your liabilities would be any debt that you have. It's as simple as that. Okay. And so it's looking at those numbers, and then so it's analyzing and assessing. There's no word judgment here. We're just analyzing and assessing, and we're figuring out, okay, from all of this, where is the one thing first that I need to master? Because we pick one. That's the holistic way of doing it, right? Like holistic is let's just master one and we'll move on to the next. Let's master one. Let's move on to the next, because it's again like building habits. Let's master one. We'll move on to the